Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's class from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, Chapter 4, Text 105. And it's going to be given by, we're very fortunate to have His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu is kind of Atlanta to give the class today. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thanks, my always Lord Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Lord Sri Ramchandra.
Jai. And it's all yours.
Jai Prabhu. Let's see. Make sure I have the right verse. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. So reading text 105. And I apologize, I'm not in my normal place, so there's quite a bit of noise outside the room I'm in, so hopefully it won't disturb. Sarupa Gosani Prabhur Ati Antaranga Tahate Janena Prabhur E Sabha Prasanga Sarupa Goswami Prabhur Ati Antaranga Tahate Janena Prabhur Esaba Prasanga. Sarupa Goswami Prabhur Ati Antaranga Tahate Janena Prabhur Esaba Prasanga. Krishna Gada Prabhu.
Sarup Goshai Prabhur Ati Ataranga Tahate Janena Prabhur Eshab Prasanga.
Haribo.
Swarup Goswami Prabhu Ati Antaranga Tahati Janina Prabhu Sabha Prasanga.
Anyone else? Gita Mataji?
She's not able to. She has problems with the throat, so
Okay,
she's
no
not going to be
problem.
on audio today.
Anyone else? Okay, Sarupa Goswami, Sarupa Damodar Goswami, Pabuddha of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ati, very, Antaranga, confidential associate, Tahate, by that, Janena, he knows, Prabhuda of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, A Saba, all these, Prasanga, topics. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sarupa Goswami, or Goshani, is the most intimate associate of the Lord. He therefore knows all these topics well. Purport. Prior to the Lord's acceptance of the renounced order, Purushottam Bhattacharya, a resident of Navadvipa, desired to enter the renounced order of life. Therefore, he left home and went to Benares, where he accepted the position of a brahmacharya from a Mayavadi sannyasi. When he became a brahmachari, he was given the name Sri Damodar Swarupa. He left Benares shortly thereafter, without taking sannyas, and he came to Nilachala, Jagannath Puri, where Lord Chaitanya was staying. He met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there and dedicated his life for the service of the Lord. He became Lord Chaitanya's secretary and constant companion. He used to enhance the pleasure potency of the Lord by singing appropriate songs, which were very much appreciated. Sarup Damodar could understand the secret mission of Lord Chaitanya, and it was by his grace only that all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya could know the real purpose of the Lord. Sarup Damodar has been identified as Lalita Devi, the second expansion of Radharani. However, text 160 of Kavi Karnapura's authoritative Gauda Gunodeksha Deepika describes Sarup Damodar as the same Vishaka Devi who serves the Lord in Goloka Vrindavan. Therefore, it is to be understood that Sri Sarup Damodar is a direct expansion of Radharani, who helps the Lord experience the attitude of Radharani. Om Agyanatimirandasa Jananjanan Salakaya Chakshuvamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadama Yatadante Swapadante Kam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadad Harshivasa Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So when reading this verse and looking at the purport, it just reminded me of several things I want to bring up. And I also hope that we can have a nice discussion on some of the points that are mentioned here, because I'd like to hear different viewpoints, not just my own. But the first verse that came to my mind was Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastre Kai, Lava Matra Sadhu Sange, Sarva Siddhi Hoya. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain success. And then another verse came from the Srimad Bhagavatam 1:18-13. Tuliyama lavinnapi naswargam napunar bhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kim utashisha. The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot even be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter. And what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death. So, Purushottam Brahmachari, he had a desire to enter the renounced order of life, sannyas. Then he became a brahmachari from the Mayavadi sannyasi. Then he was given the name Sri Damodar Sarup. Then he left Benares after that. Again, he had the desire to take sannyas, but after he left, he hadn't taken sannyas yet. Then he came to Nilachala, Jagannath Puri, and he met Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya was staying there. And after meeting Lord Chaitanya, he dedicated his life. So that's, as I was thinking about that, it was just very impactful and also very inspiring, and caused me to be a little reflective on my personal coming to Krishna consciousness. And I'm sure in the life of most of you, there was some flashpoint that caused you to think differently in terms of your plans in life. Doesn't mean that you necessarily stopped doing what you were doing. Maybe you were aspiring for education. In my case, I was aspiring for musical success. Many of you were aspiring for different things in life. But coming in contact, in most cases, not directly with Srila Prabhupada, but coming in contact with the followers of Srila Prabhupada, if we were fortunate. And yes, we were, because we're all here now. So we're all fortunate, most fortunate. So I remember my first endeavor toward Vedic, or yes, not Krishna consciousness, but say Vedic culture, was through Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in 1970, Transcendental Meditation. And I had been studying very seriously with a local representative of TM. And I was becoming a little excited. I figured I had found the truth that I was looking for that could pacify my heart, which was in a lot of pain due to the loss of 3 family members over the course of a year and a half, 2 years. So I was a little confused about life, wanted to know get some guidance in that. I started reading the Bible, and I had a book called the seven day prayers for every day. I was really trying to become serious. And then came across Transcendental Meditation. And then Maharishi Mahesh Yogi came to Atlanta in 1970 or 71, I can't remember now. And I went to his lecture, so excited. I found the truth. I found the person that can guide me out of this lamentation, this confusion that I was in. But all due respects to him as a person, it was not to be. His association did not change me. I'm not saying he's a bad person. He passed away some years ago. But his association did not change me. Neither did the association of the people following him change me. And then shortly after that, I came in contact with devotees, Srila Prabhupada's disciples. And that started the process of changing me. It didn't happen immediately, but I felt more attraction, more confidence, not just in the words of the persons that I met, but in the personality, the energy, I didn't know what it was at that point, but I can assume that it was the level of their purity. The first devotee I met was a Bhakta, not an initiated devotee. At that time was Bhakta Bill, later on to become Vaishnavananda Prabhu, who's still serving Srila Prabhupada after all these years. But his energy, we might say aura, whatever, but it was just something special about him that caused me to think twice about my goal in life. As I said, I was trying to become a successful entertainer, working very hard, singing in clubs, singing, just going at it. That was my focus. But after meeting this bhakta, just coming into the movement, but had a great deal of conviction, and I believe that's what it was. He had so much conviction, and I always tell this story, it's kind of sort of embarrassing and funny, that I was coming home from work and I was downtown Atlanta waiting to take the city bus to go home. And I only had at that point in the week my bus fare. I didn't have any because I hadn't gotten paid. So I just had bus fare, approximately 35 cents, whatever it was. And, I'm going to go home from work and relax and do my thing. But he convinced me. And I'm just trying to illustrate how powerful it is when a devotee is himself or herself convinced. What that can do for a person like me at that time who was searching. So he gave me a book, and I believe some incense. And then he asked for a donation after he spoke a little. He didn't speak very much. He didn't speak a lot because he didn't know a lot at that point. He's a brand new bhakta practically. But it was a conviction that he had. So my point here is that he was so convinced that I needed that book after speaking with me for just a few moments. Lavamatra. Sadhu Sangha, just this one moment's association with a sincere devotee. I don't know if he was pure devotee, not pure devotee. I don't know because I had no idea what that meant. But he convinced me to give him my bus fare. I assume he was in the mood at Prabhupada saying if they give some money, they will appreciate the book. And you're taking the Lakshmi back from Ravana, all those things. Maybe that was in his mind. I don't know. But the conviction I could feel. And then I said, well, this is all I have. It's just my bus fare. I got to go home. He said, and he always quotes this whenever he speaks about me. He told me, don't worry, God will help you. And he took that 35 cents. I gave it to him. My bus fare to go home. It's not significant, not a very significant thing. But my point is that his conviction crossed over to me, cut through my Maya, and I'm sure I was intoxicated when I met him because I used to get intoxicated every day after work. I'd smoke some marijuana and just, go on with my life. He cut through all of that. Bhakta, not long in the movement, just had come down from New York to Atlanta. But his conviction started the process of changing my life. So I would assume two things happened. Adhal Shraddha. I had enough faith in that devotee to give him my 35 cents, my bus fare. So I had a little faith. Adhal Shraddha Sadhu Sangha. And by that little faith, I was blessed with Sadhu Sangha. And again, I emphasize, he was a bhakta, new devotee, with so much conviction. And I can tell you to this day, anyone that knows Vaishnavananda knows that he has so much conviction about Srila Prabhupada. You cannot shake his conviction in Srila Prabhupada. It just won't happen. And that continually inspires me, as he did over 50 years ago. So think about that. How powerful is the association of a devotee who he himself or herself is convinced about this movement? That's actually the key to Sankirtan. If some of you are doing book distribution or want to do book distribution, or even if you just want to go on Harinam. Harinam also requires conviction when you go out to chant the holy names of the Lord. You have to chant with as much purity as possible. Don't have, it's like Prabhupada said, it's not entertainment. It's not about musicianship. No, it's the purity of the chanting that will cut through the people's Maya and inspire them to come closer, take up Krishna consciousness. And I apologize, I think my camera might be a little bit jerky because I'm not on my normal computer. But again, I want to just keep emphasizing the importance of our own personal sadhana, devotional service, and how it can impact the lives of those we come in contact, either people outside the movement or even within the movement. There is sometimes in the movement amongst certain devotees, there's a lack of faith been brought on by association. It's like many of us spend time on the internet. And sometimes on the internet, you find so many negative things. Now, we don't want to say every person's opinion about the movement and what's going on. You don't want to criticize that unnecessarily, but you might encounter a lot of negative ideas and comments. That's also association. And by that association, many devotees become distracted from the actual path of just trying to follow Srila Prabhupada, trying to understand his philosophy, and then, passing that on to others. They say in the art of selling, if some of you might be involved in selling in your professional life, they say selling is a transference of conviction. I learned that years ago when I was studying selling as I was doing Sankirtan. Selling is a transference of conviction. You don't try to sell a product. You give that person the confidence that you believe in what you're trying to do. Same thing in Krishna consciousness. Like what Bhakta Bill Vaishnavananda did for me. I believed in him, New Bhakta. He convinced me by his association. I'm telling you, it was only a few minutes. It wasn't like he spent an hour talking to me. It was just a few minutes. And I remember distinctly, I was just standing there amongst maybe 100 people. He came directly to me, Krishna's arrangement. But his conviction was so deep. So I would say that in order to spread the movement, we need to improve our Krishna consciousness. Now, in this case, is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Damodar he's got this association with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead would change the life of anyone. But of course, during his time, he had to, the Lord, of course, not Lord Chaitanya so much, but Krishna had to fight with demons who didn't appreciate his association. Even Arjuna in the beginning didn't quite understand Krishna and the fortunate position he had, but gradually he did by the association. And that's what I'm going to emphasize here. Association, association, association. Quality of association. If you're fortunate to have the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you're greatly fortunate. But Prabhupada says you have it. We have it in the form of his books. Bhagavad Gita is Krishna speaking. You want to associate with Krishna? Go read Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's in his holy name. You want to associate with Krishna? Chant his holy name with sincerity, focus, purity. Krishna, man, he's there. He's in the heart as a super soul. Sarvasya Chaham Ridishani Visto Matasmati. He's there. Ishwar Sarvabhuta. I forget now, the sloka slipped my mind, but he's in our heart. He's there, really, within the heart, guiding us. So, in one sense, we should be improving because we're so close with Krishna. And we can easily access Krishna just by reading about him. Today is the appearance of Lord Ramchandra. I've been so happy this morning. I've been listening to Amala Bhakta Maharaj's narration of the Ramayana. And I'm up to the point where Ram, he had to fight he had this encounter with Parashuram. And then he's Sita, and then breaking the bow. It's just amazing. And I'm associating with Lord Ramchandra. And I'm going to the temple tonight. I'm hopefully see my dear God, Brother Vishnu Gadar Prabhu. We can dance and chant together so I can get association with devotees. So why should I not be? What excuse do I have in terms of being unhappy today? How in the world could I be unhappy when I'm hearing the glories of Ramchandra, getting the association of all of you, excited about the association of my dear God Brother and other devotees this evening? Where is the space for unhappiness? When I'm so absorbed in Krishna, he's right here. Problem is, I don't always think of Krishna. Then I get confused. Maybe some of you can identify with that. I remember Bhattacharya Maharaj says, the moment you stop thinking of Krishna, you're in Maya. It's amazing, isn't it? The very moment you stop thinking of Krishna, then you have all these problems. You can't figure out, oh, why am I unhappy? Why does it? The answer is very simple. We forget Krishna. We forget, what we're trying to accomplish here. So we should stay focused with one pointed attention on this process. In order to do that, you must have faith in the process. How do you get that faith? By associating with devotees. And you have to be, in some cases, you have to be a little selective, always respectful to every devotee, not just every devotee, every living being, but in our movement, all the devotees, be very respectful. But if we want to make advancement, I want to have the association intimately with those devotees who are convinced, first of all, about Srila Prabhupada. I'm not interested in any other thing. I want to become more faithful to Srila Prabhupada and hopefully stay that way. Not hopefully, I have to do for the rest of this life. So when I'm giving association to others, which I do on a regular basis, I have to check myself. What kind of association am I giving? Reflecting back on this verse today, reflecting on Sarup Damodar, meeting Lord Chaitanya, having a plan to take sannyas. That's a big thing. But by the association of Lord Chaitanya, he changed his plan, dedicated his life to Lord Chaitanya. Okay, and that happens in all of our lives. We have all these plans, and as I said from the beginning of the discussion, it's not that you give up education, give up work, but we give up that false desire to enjoy the results of those things for sense gratification. Okay? Now we want to please great personalities. It might just be the person that you met. You're Vartma Pradakshaka Guru, as we say sometimes, the person that inspired you in Krishna consciousness. So you want to make that person happy, that you're making progress. What makes a devotee happy is to see another devotee make progress. Okay, it doesn't require any financial outlay. Just if you're a sincere devotee yourself, your happiness should be to see others become devotees. As Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the opposite is, I am happy when others are suffering. We should not want to see any devotee suffer. We shouldn't want any devotee to have to endure falling down and all these things. We should pray for the upliftment of all devotees, all living beings. So again, from reading this today, just that one part of Sarup Damodar, having an initial plan, which is a really sophisticated, high-level plan, becoming a sannyasi, wow. But meeting Lord Chaitanya, God, of course, but in form of a devotee, teaching us how to do this process, he changed his plan. I guarantee if I ask each one of you, when you came to Krishna consciousness, was there a transformation in your life? As I said, it doesn't mean you stopped doing what you were doing. It doesn't mean you left your family and went to Vrindavan, gave up your job. Some of us did. I mean, I gave up my job, to move into the temple. Most of you have not moved into the temple or live in the temple. Vishnu Gudar Prabhu, myself, we lived in the temple many years. I'm sure Parikshit Prabhu and Anasuya lived in Gita Nagari many years. So some of us were fortunate to do that. But most of us have to do what we do. Then we have to change our mindset. Remember, Krishna told Arjuna, he didn't tell him to stop fighting. He didn't tell him to leave the battlefield. He didn't agree with Arjuna's plan to leave the battlefield because Arjuna was a Kshatriya. He had that nature. But he just wanted Arjuna to change the focus from his own attachments to pleasing the Lord. And the Lord did not reveal to him in the beginning that he was the Lord. He just gave him philosophy, karma yoga, you're not the body, so many things. And gradually, as Arjuna's trust in Krishna increased, then Krishna revealed more. Why? You're my devotee, you're my friend. There's some trust. So if we improve our Krishna consciousness, and then in that mood, try to attract others to Krishna, build that, let that trust develop between yourself and whoever you're trying to attract to Krishna, because your association is so important. As I said, not only to the new people that we meet, but to other devotees. You know, you have no idea what devotees might be going through, that they need to be with a devotee who's convinced about Krishna consciousness to lift them up a little bit. Maybe, I mean, we all have our ups and downs in our daily lives and in our devotional practice. And sometimes we need a little uplift. I call devotees to get an uplift. Devotees call me to get an uplift. Suppose a devotee calls me and they need an uplift, and I'm just like out of it, down, depressed. How can I help them? But if I'm focused on the process, then I can actually share and help a devotee, show them where it is in Srila Prabhupada's books, the inspirations, the verses, the pastimes, the stories of Prabhupada, things that can lift me up and also lift them up. Point being, we have to improve our quality of devotional practice as we water the seed of devotion, bhakti lata, and just stay focused. Because as Lord Chaitanya transformed the life of Sarup Damodar, we can also be an instrument. That's all we're meant to be, is like an instrument in the hands of the Lord to take his mercy. I remember meeting Vishnu Jan Maharaj. First time I met him in 1972. And his presence, and I know Vishnu Gadai knows him quite well. I mean, his presence was magnetic, but in a different way, not like materially magnetic, like a lot of people are attractive, beautiful, handsome, intelligent. It wasn't that. It was his attachment to glorifying Krishna and his singing. And that's another thing that came in this verse. I wanted to mention that as well. He met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there and dedicated his life in the service of the Lord. He became Lord Chaitanya's secretary and constant companion. But this part I really love. He used to enhance the pleasure potency of the Lord by singing appropriate songs, which were very much appreciated. That's the image I have of Vishnu Jan Maharaj. I remember him singing Gopinath, Gopinath, Mama Deda Dena Sun. It was a beautiful melody, and just playing on the harmonium, singing Gopinath to Radha Damodar. I'm sure most of you have been to Gita Nagari to see Radha Damodar. Those were his deities. And he would sing to them so beautifully that I would just be enchanted hearing his voice. Even to this day, when I hear his voice, I just get transported to another plane. I was fortunate to sit there and do kirtan with him and to feel the level of his devotion to Radha Damodar and to Srila Prabhupada. And over the years, I've been in the presence of many devotees, especially God brothers, God sisters, and even now some second generation devotees who I feel truly have the understanding of their dependency on Srila Prabhupada and the chanting of the holy names. And then by their association, I'm seeing others become convinced. But something else can happen also. People can become convinced about you, and you could guide them one way or the other. Okay? Because if you're beautiful, if you're intelligent, if you're renounced, all those different qualities, you can attract people. But when you attract them, where are you trying to guide them to? To respect you, to respect your thing, maybe your project, whatever it is you're doing? Or are we trying to attract them to have faith in Srila Prabhupada and surrender to Krishna? Not to me. I didn't mean to say this, but one time a devotee said to me, Balabhadra, you should become a guru, then you will never have any more financial problems. And I was like shocked. I thought, how can you say that to me? How could you think that I've given my life to Srila Prabhupada and I would degrade myself to become a guru to solve my financial problems? It was an insult, painful, practically brought tears to my eyes. That's not why I gave up my career in music in 1972 or 3. That's not the reason. I could have stayed on that path. Maybe I would have been successful. I don't know. But by the grace of the devotees that I've known over the years, my faith in the process has increased until I can say firmly right now, you cannot take me away from Prabhupada. It will not happen. I may not become anything more than what I am right now, but you cannot take that away from me. That's there, solid. And I'll hang on to it until the last breath, only because of the association of devotees who have that kind of faith. Satsuru Maharaj said one time, I don't know if it's in Lila Amrita, but I read it. He said, Srila Prabhupada single-handedly maintained the faith of the devotees in this movement. You have to process that. Sometimes we become a little proud. I'm this, I'm that. I'm not, when I said I'm not going to let go of Prabhupada, it's a spiritual pride, okay? It's not like some false ego. This is my spiritual pride. But Prabhupada maintained our faith in Krishna's holy name. How? By constantly chanting Krishna's holy name, by constantly preaching about Krishna, constantly encouraging everyone about Krishna. So we had faith in Prabhupada. We have faith in Prabhupada. And if we're intelligent, we'll keep that faith in Prabhupada. So we just need to be in the presence of devotees that have that kind of faith, and even more than myself. But we never criticize those who don't have that level of faith. We encourage everyone. That's explained by Rupa Goswami as well, how to associate with devotees. So that's really where my meditation is on this purport. There are other aspects of it about Swarup Damodar being identified as Lalita Devi. I don't have much insight to discuss that very deeply. All the expansions of Radharani, different things are there that we could also discuss. Maybe some of you can have more insight on that. But those are really the couple of things that I'm focused on. That Swarup Damodar, coming with his own plan, met Lord Chaitanya and then dedicated his life. Similarly, that Brahmana Kurma who met Lord Chaitanya. And actually his plan was to just leave and go with Lord Chaitanya. And then Lord Chaitanya spoke that famous verse that I always mess up, but Yade Deke Tade Kata Krishna Upadesh. He told him, stay where you are. Tell everyone about Krishna. Make everyone Krishna conscious. In that way you become guru. In other words, you become the center of faith for others. Every one of us is meant to do that. In one sense, we all have to become guru. Not sitting on a big seat, not having many disciples, not having a big platform for speaking, but in our just interaction with people. Yad Yada Charity Shrestha, becoming the moving, walking example of this philosophy. People should be able to detect Srila Prabhupada through our personal faith in Srila Prabhupada. They should feel his presence through us. They should feel the presence of Krishna through us. When we're preaching, preach about Krishna. Why not? Why not tell people more and more about Krishna? Well, what happens is the more we have faith in Krishna, the more we want to talk about Krishna. Prabhupada mentioned that in a couple of times, several times, I'm sure, that when you love someone, you want to talk about them. So one symptom of our developing love for Krishna is that we want to talk about Krishna more. We want to chant his holy names more. And that chanting his holy name should be done with such devotion, not for entertainment, not even for your personal pleasure, your own pleasure. It said right here, Swarup Damodar chanted appropriate songs to enhance the pleasure potency of the Lord, not for his own glorification. When we sing Hare Krishna, we're singing for the pleasure of the Lord. I was in Mayapur in 1976, and I first met Achyutananda, at that time Achyutananda Swami. He was well known to be pretty much the example of how to do kirtan and bhajans and all the things. And the first songbook came from him. So I said, I have to have a private meeting with him. So it was arranged that I could meet with him. And I said, Maharaj, what is the secret for doing great kirtan? Because he's the great kirtan leader. He looked at me with disgust. He said, secret? What secret? Chant nicely for Krishna. So that stayed with me all these years. When I'm chanting, I have to chant nicely for Krishna. A lot of times, and we have to be careful of this, a lot of times in the kirtan, devotees bunch in together around the kirtan leader, just bunched in there and not even looking at the deities. And I've had to train up several devotees in kirtan in Atlanta, young devotees, fantastic madanga players, and they bunch around me, and let's get all fired up. And I point to the deities. And they know what they're so accustomed to it. When I point that way, they all turn back around. And the young kids are following the other ones, bunching up, not looking at the deities. And then they look at me and they say, well, they know what I'm going to do. I'm going to point to Gorni Tai and Radha Madama and Jagannath, which it's kind of cute. I like that, So it falls on us to be in the mood of Lord Chaitanya. We can't imitate him, but we can follow the footsteps that he gave us, right? And when people come in contact with us, they should be inspired by our conviction, our devotion. As I said, it's not only the people that we go out into the public for. Sometimes your god brother, god sister needs you to be strong. So I'll stop there because, like I said, I would love to hear some feedback on that. But again, my main point is Swarup Damodar met Lord Chaitanya. By Lord Chaitanya's association, he changed his whole life plan just by that association. And then the one other thing about singing appropriate songs for the pleasure of the Lord, I find it to be very beautiful. So I'll stop. Parikshit Prabhu, any comments from yourself? Or
Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for a very nice lecture breaking down this purport and this stressing the association, quality association for devotees, and picking up, and it helps us to stay in Krishna consciousness very much so. Not me. I would rather defer to Vishnu Prabhu if he wants to add some comments to it. Now, Hare Krishna.
People.
Haribo Prabhu. Looking forward to seeing you.
Likewise. So a question might be raised. Lord Chaitanya, when he was in Navadvip, he said not to associate with the Mayavadis. Mayavadi, Vashya Shunete Hodo Sarvanash. So here is sort of Damodar is taking initiation from a Mayavadi after that, or it's at some point like that. So what would be how would we explain that?
Well, it was before he met Lord Chaitanya, correct? Am I correct on that?
No, he was an associate of Lord Chaitanya in Navadvip before this. So Damodar was a close associate also before going to. It's not explained in this purport, but in other purports.
Right. Yeah, so taken from this port, maybe I didn't think about what you're saying is important. So prior to Lord Chaitanya's acceptance of the renounced order, Purushottam Brahmachari, a resident of Navadvip. So he was in Navadvip. So obviously he knew about Lord Chaitanya. Like you said, he's associating. Desired to enter the renounced order of life. Therefore, he left home and went to Benares, where he accepted the position of Brahmachari. Became Brahmachari. And then when he came back, so it says he met Chaitanya there and dedicated his life. So I don't have a lot of insight prior to that because I can't remember the whole pastime of Swarup Damodar prior to meeting Lord Chaitanya at Jagannath Puri. If you can elaborate a little bit more, maybe that might help.
Well, the only thing I recall is that when Lord Chaitanya took Swarup Damodar was there with Lord Chaitanya in Navadvip, and when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, there's a Krishna Das Kaviraj says that Swarup Damodar kind of went crazy. And then that's when he went to Benares and took sannyas there from this. So that kind of craziness might have that was the result. I don't know. I don't know if you might have any other addition to that. I had another question for you also.
Now go ahead, please.
You mentioned about being involved in TM prior to, or when you had and that you were quite a serious follower, but it seems like and with all due respect that you were continuing to use marijuana.
Yeah.
So it wasn't part of their rules or recommendations to stop that.
There were no rules. In fact, when I heard Maharishi, what disappointed me was the idea was, you come to this level of unbounded consciousness. And if what attracted me was, and you can enjoy life more, you'll become more successful. You'll become more, and that's why I was attracted. They attracted me based on enhancing my power for sense gratification. But that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for something more. So yeah, I mean, I kept taking drugs. I kept having sex and whatever I was doing as a musician, because I'm going to become better now because of Maharishi. So when I met Vaishnavananda and devotees, I realized that's the wrong attitude. Because of course I hadn't met Prabhupada at that point. So yeah, it didn't change my life. That was my initial point. Meeting I was aspiring for a guru, met him, it didn't change my life. Nothing about my life changed. Nothing. Just meeting a bhakta started the process of changing my life. I mean, comparing Bhakta Bill to Maharishi, it was like, I'm just thinking of it right now. Bhakta Bill had more potency to change my life than Maharishi sitting on the big seat with hundreds of people following, thousands. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I did a search while you were talking of TM and marijuana. And it's interesting here. So there's different people talking. It says, I practice TM twice daily, but still enjoy marijuana at night on the weekends. I don't use it before I practice though, but it does linger and I feel groggier during my morning meditation. I know Maharishi spoke against marijuana, but I'm just curious if other people use and practice TM. I assume that many do, but I would just wonder what other people's take on this is.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's, as you said, so like in Ashtanga yoga, one of the motivations in doing Ashtanga yoga is just as you said, is to enhance and increase your ability to enjoy many things, sense gratification in a different variety of ways. You'll get some powers. I know in the TM they were very excited that they might be able to levitate.
Yes, it became the new thing. Came one later.
Yeah. So that there was the shocking difference between that approach and Bhakti Bill's approach, that we're gonna be servants instead of trying to be the enjoyers. Yeah, good. Thank you.
And Bhakti Bill Vaishnavananda, by his example, which I still follow, he was alone by himself, walking downtown Atlanta, saffron clothes, shaved head. Just by seeing that started to change my thinking. It was special. So that's why when I go on Harinam, apart from just this short period where I was going out in a kurta and pants because of the influence of certain devotees, not to get into that too much detail, but I said, no, when I go out on Harinam, I have to go in dhoti. That's just my nature, So people see it and they ask questions, because he showed me downtown Atlanta, where I still go, you go out and you just preach Krishna consciousness in the best way you possibly can. I'm not saying you can't go out in the, karmi pants or pants and shirt and all that. Better to go out than not go out. But I'm just saying, for me, that's just my personal conviction to do that, because I saw that over 50 years ago, and in the effect it had on me, his speaking, his clothing, everything. It was a little package. It really affected me. So again, with the TM example, there were no four regulative principles. Absolutely not. So when I came into contact with the four regulative principles, I stopped all that nonsense. Marijuana, chasing women, everything stopped. Just by the association of devotees and then reading Prabhupada's books. So thank you, Vishnu Gadapu. Anybody else?
I say that not to think that we're better or anything like that, but just because, to make spiritual progress, it's required.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not comparing myself to Shyam Sundar, but Shyam Sundar was still smoking cigarettes when he was carving the deities. So when I joined the movement, I was addicted to cigarettes, 2 or 3 packs every day. I'm not exaggerating. And it was such a problem that when I moved in the temple, I would sneak away from the temple and get on the bus and smoke a cigarette because it was so hard to give it up. And finally, one day, I gave it up by the association of devotees. But devotees were so kind. They didn't pounce on me and criticize me. They were just so loving. It just inspired me to stop all this nonsense. Why am I doing this? Like Prabhupada told Shamsundar, this is such a small thing. Smoke one less every day and you give it up. So I just thought, this is nonsense. Why am I doing that? By the association of devotees. Hearing Bhagavatam class every day, Gita class every day, studying, doing service, because I wasn't doing Sankirtan at that point, just helping devotees with the Spiritual Sky warehouse, things like that. Just purified me more and more and more. It didn't take long after I decided to surrender to give those things up completely, but it was a struggle. So yeah. But again, let me emphasize one more time, it was by the association of very sincere devotees. Very sincere. Appreciate anybody else?
It does make a big difference when you meet someone who knows how to convince you. But the point that you made a bhakta, but his conviction was so high that he was able to turn your mind to Krishna consciousness by just associating with for a very short while.
Yes.
And that is so significant. So significant. And I'm thinking, well, Nimai was born. He was in Navadvip. Nobody knew he was a Supreme Personality of Godhead. He wouldn't even do Krishna conscious stuff. Devotees were concerned. Oh, Nimai, if he only became a devotee, how much beneficial it would be for his life and for everybody else. Didn't know they were talking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we never know.
Yeah.
You never know. I don't know who this Bhakta is in previous life, and so he's there. All you know is this, he had an effect on you, and it was better than even the guru that you were going to before,
Seriously.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And but it also says a lot about Krishna consciousness, a lot about Krishna, how potent that is, and how much of a gift Srila Prabhupada is given to the whole world if people would just stick to it. So we got work to do. We got work to do. We
You
know
know,
now, and we have to try to convince as many people as possible.
well, one quote that Vaishnavananda, previously Bhakta Bill,
Mm.
he always gave this quote practically every class. He gives wonderful classes. He would say, example is better than precept. Right? Example is better than precept. Again, yad yada chariti shrestha. Whatever a great man does, come and men follow. So he just always drove that home to us. Example is better than precept. We can talk all day. We can give 1,000 classes, whatever. But the example that we set throughout our day, when we meet devotees, how do we interact? Well, if we study Rupa Goswami's the 6 principles of exchanging love amongst devotees, we'll be fine. Giving gifts, receiving gifts, prasad, revealing our mind, listening confidentially. Just practice that. And then that example carries over to the next person. As I said, selling is a transference of conviction. So I need to transfer my conviction in Srila Prabhupada to the next person, and to the next person, and to the next person. And transfer my conviction in chanting the holy names by chanting the holy names. How do I convince people the importance of chanting of holy names if I'm not chanting? If I'm not seriously trying to improve my chanting? I have one godbrother, and I think Vishnu Gada, Bahushira. He's like now in his life, he's reading 4 or 5 hours a day, Prabhupada's books, just like absorbed. And I saw him recently in Atlanta. I hadn't seen him since 1975, since Prabhupada was in Atlanta, and I was so pleased to have his association again. And I just told him, I said, Prabhu, you still inspire me. You're reading, because he's retiring from work, he's just absorbed in Prabhupada's books, as he was in those days. And the inspiration I got from him in the 70s, he's inspiring me still to this day. We have to be consistent in our practice so we can consistently improve. So when we meet others, we can transfer, we can pass over that conviction that we have in Prabhupada and this movement and the holy names. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Devotees, if you have some question to ask or realizations that you want to share or take homes that you want to talk about, please unmute yourself also. You can do that now and share it so we can have more discussion about it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So anyone like to share or ask a question? Or we can talk a little bit about Nomi since this is the Lord's appearance.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
pranam. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna is a good
Yeah,
papa.
nice morning, nectar, how we can dedicate our life for Srila Prabhupada and Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much for sharing, Prabhu. I was just wondering, you mentioned you heard Amal Bhakta's Ramayana translation. I was wondering, do you have any favorite pastimes of Lord Ram to share today's Ram Navami?
I'm just getting back into hearing it. I heard the whole thing maybe a month or so ago. And I had a realization that after the beginning of the Ramayana, the ones that he's reading, up to the point of Ram being banished to the forest, it's almost like it's just this one continuous story till the end. And I was thinking of like the Krishna book, because I'm listening to the Krishna book as well. And there's so many different things happen. Of course, in Ram's life, there are many things that happen, especially up to the point of being banished to the forest. But in the Krishna book, it's like, my God, there's so many things in different places and pastimes and this and that. So it's very interesting. And the flow is slightly different, but the ecstasy is still the same. The two pastimes, Ram and Krishna. So in Ram's pastimes, which I can't remember so many of them now, his going to the forest to please his father, in spite of the circumstances, I find that to be very, very significant. And the example that he's setting, Ram is always setting the example as the perfect son, the perfect king, the perfect husband. So his father's asking him to do something that's going to diminish his whole life, take away his whole life in the kingdom. His wife's going to go with him to the forest. It's just Lakshman's going to go with him with that. But for the integrity of the relationship between the son and the father, he did that. I just find it very, very inspiring. Also, when he, as a young boy, before Sita and all of that, I believe it was Vishwamitra that wanted him to travel with him. I think is that right? Vishwamitra?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, that's correct.
So that pastime is also very, very special. As a young boy, him and Lakshman going with Vishwamitra to protect the sages, because in the place where the sages were doing their austerities, they were being disturbed. And so Ram went to sort of help with that. So yeah, a couple of those things like that. Maybe you might have a pastime. You have a favorite one for yourself that you like?
Thank you so much for narrating that, Prabhu. Wonderful. Yeah, the one I like is when Lord Ram was walking through the forest and Lakshman was helping Lord Ram. And at the end of the day, Lakshman used to pull the thorns out of the Lord's lotus feet. And Lord noticed that what you're doing, Lakshman. Lakshman says, I'm removing these thorns. Lord says that whoever takes the shelter at my lotus feet, they cannot be separated from me. So yeah, that much Lord's love for the whoever takes the shelter towards him, Lord never separates him or makes him away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, another one I like is when he met with Jatayu. Jatayu had fought off Ravana for Sita. And that's a very emotional part. And then they performed the funeral rites for him. It's just it's touching, very, very touching. Back in the day, Nandakishore, Lokamangala, Prabhu, these are the original Vaikunta players, and they would do the Ramayana. So in Atlanta, when Nandakishore and they were all in Atlanta at one point, and they would do the Ramayana, I mean, every Sunday feast was Ramayana. with Lokamangala playing Ravana and Nandakishore playing Ramchandra and Nandakishore's wife playing Sita. It was just amazing. We could see it every Sunday. It would be a drama, and then the lecture was about the drama. And we did Ramayan for like days, and the Kabanda, the big demon, and just they were amazing. So Surpanaka and cutting off the nose, so much in the Ramayan. And I think once they filmed the Ramayan at New Vrindavan with those actors. And that's actually a very nice recording. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's actually a very interesting recording to see that. So many pastimes. Anyone else have a pastime they want to share? We got a little time here.
I can say a little bit, Hare Krishna,
Please go ahead.
obeisances. Glory to the Prabhupada. At some point, when Sita came to Ram's life, there was some competition between Sita and Lakshman to serve Lord Ram. This was a very interesting situation, you know. Lakshman was already serving Lord Ram by Sita, and Sita says, "I have no wife. I'm supposed to serve a husband." And Lakshman still wanted to serve. So it got to a situation where it was kind of difficult to resolve it. So they went to the family guru, Vashishta Muni, and Vashishta Muni decided that, all right, so Ram is a prince, father is a king. So when Ram is um, doing duties as a prince, his duties as a prince, then Lakshman should serve him. But when Ram comes home, then Sita should serve him. So this is how they resolved the matter. But this is when they were in Ayodhya.
Yeah.
I don't know of any time in the forest when there was any kind of competition then. But the interesting thing, the reason that came to mind was that they both were greedy to serve the Lord. And that's the attitude that we should have about serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah.
Yes, the relation was there. There was brother and then also wife, but still the main personality was Lord Ram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if they would even get to the point where the service the service situation had to be resolved for them, how greedy are we to serve?
Mm.
That's the whole point. That came to mind when I saw that. I said, boy, I should be really, 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 really greedy then to serve. Yeah, because when you satisfy the Lord's senses, nothing could be better than that. Hare Krishna.
I
Yeah.
didn't know. No, I like, again, it reminds you of what we read early in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Sarv Damodar sang appropriate songs to enhance the mood of the Lord.
Yeah.
This is a day when we can sing songs in glorification of Lord Ramchandra, and just wonderful opportunity to meditate. I think there's a question from Sarvang.
Yes, Savannah son Damodar Prabhu. All right, Prabhu, go on. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandvat Pranam.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu
Krishna Balabhadra
Prabhupada,
Prabhu.
Haribo.
I'm seeing you from after a long time. It's been a long time seeing you. I desire to see you in person. So,
Thank you.
but yeah. So when Parikshit Prabhu was talking about the way Sita Devi and Lakshmanji wanted to serve, uh, and they were competing. So that I want to serve more, I want to serve more. We see that there is a little bit kind of conflict, no?
Hmm.
But in the end there is a cooperation
Hmm.
after they go to Vashishtha Muni and then they resolve their issue. They go to senior. So I remember one line from Gaurang Prabhu's class where he says that there will always be conflicts among the devotees,
Hmm.
but then how we cooperate with each other will be something that will keep us driving towards the Lord.
Hmm.
We should always cooperate, and try to resolve our issue. Like he says, like that there can be disagreements in the viewpoints, but there shouldn't be like clashes between the people, and we are stopping to serve, we are not coming to the temple, and a lot of other things are happening.
Right.
That shouldn't happen. So I remember that point very much, and it helps me a lot all the time.
Wow.
Mm.
That's a beautiful thought. And
Hare
Prabhupada, two quick references. Prabhupada in Atlanta, when he was preparing to leave Atlanta in 1975 after being there for like 3 or 4 days, Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Prabhupada, why were you so moved in Atlanta? He cried before the deities, he played madanga, he sang a bhajan, so many things he did. And the story from what I hear is that he said that because devotees were cooperating, because we had devotees from all over the country who came that time, we were all working together, even though we didn't even know each other, but we all cooperated to please Prabhupada. And the other one is what Prabhupada said as he's preparing to leave the world, the test of your love for me, after I depart, will be shown by how well you cooperate. But see, cooperation requires trust, and trust is not easily achieved. So we have to focus on that. Following what Rupa Goswami said, 6 principles of developing love or exchanging love amongst devotees. Work on that, build more trust so we can come to the point of confidentiality with each other. And then cooperation is not that difficult. And always keeping Krishna in the center, and especially keeping Srila Prabhupada in the center of this movement, period. How are you going to have cooperation in the movement of Prabhupada that he started if he's not really in the center, the focus of our endeavors? Because otherwise you have devotees from different gurus and this and that, going this way, going that way, and all the ways are good. Everyone's trying to do something wonderful. But how do you get that cooperation? Many devotees say that back in the day when Prabhupada was still here, through book distribution and Harinam, there was immense cooperation, especially in the book distribution days. I mean, you're talking about competition? Prabhupada inspired the competition. He would say, tomorrow you're going to let him do more books than you and increase it by 50% every year. It was all this intense cooperation to please Srila Prabhupada. If your name was read to Prabhupada in the Sankirtan newsletter, you were like completely on fire. Prabhupada one time said about the devotee from Atlanta, Charudeshna Prabhu, who just passed away last year, and he saw Charudeshna's score, the Sankirtan newsletter. Prabhupada used to read those newsletters. So it explained that Charudeshna did over 215 or 20 big books in one day. It had never been done before. And then Prabhupada commented, it is simply wonderful that Charudeshna has distributed 200 plus big books. It's like, wow, the whole world's excited. And people would sit around waiting to see Prabhupada's letters and get excited, So it's all about association. It really is. And focus. And if we just focus on Srila Prabhupada, focus on the holy name, focus on prasad distribution, Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, the things that Prabhupada gave us, then cooperation will follow. But if I have my own idea and you have your own idea and it doesn't jive with what Prabhupada wanted in the 7 purposes, that's where I believe, this is my humble statement, the conflicts come then. Because, you're trying to do something, I'm trying to do something, and we're not focusing on the center, then I believe we have disunity. You can't have unity. You got to have a kind of a purpose. If we make up our own purposes, then we're going to have disunity. Take the 7 purposes given by Prabhupada. See how well we're doing. And that will increase the cooperation, the cooperative spirit, and more success will come to whatever project we're trying to help. Okay, anybody else?
Krishna. Anyone else? Ansia was on the altar today at the temple, so she just finished.
Send her my humble obeisance. I spoke with her yesterday.
Yeah, she just called to tell me she's on her way coming back. Okay. Hare Krishna. All right, Didibudi, so we're fasting today. And of course, health comes first, but if you have to, please do. We will have the program starting, I think, at 6 o'clock this evening. It's a weekday, but if you can still make it on time to have the program started, it would be very nice. So we have a program at the temple this evening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.
Vanchakappatarubhascha
Keep us in the Avasha, Patitanam, Pavane,
Pavane
Vaishnava.
Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada
Prabhupada ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Haribo.
Thank you, everybody. Jai. God Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. God Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. God Srila Prabhupada.